Thank you very much, Presiding Officer, and let me congratulate you on your elevation to your position. I will crave a boon from you at some point in the future. Let's get in credit at the outset. I'm happy to join our fellow rebel, Mike Russell, as someone who, like him, voted yes in 1975. Not because the arguments were absolutely decisive and compelling, but because as a child born in the immediate aftermath of the war that ended in 1945, the value that I placed on international collaboration in the cause of peace overrode other considerations. John Mason talked about 41 years, and interestingly enough, 41 years before the 1975 referendum, there was another referendum on whether the United Kingdom should remain a member of the League of Nations. It wasn't organised by the government, but it was a mass franchise open to the voting of everyone in the United Kingdom. 38% of the electorate chose to vote, and 96% of them said, we want to remain part of that international organisation. I crave that we achieve such an overwhelming result on the 23rd of June, but I'm not holding my breath. And for Elaine Smith, I say a further 41 years back, the inaugural meeting of the Independent Labour Party took place in Bradford, chaired, of course, by Keir Hardie. So there must be something about 41 years in politics. It's also the case that the debate around how we should engage with each other is not particularly new. In 1606, in the Westminster Parliament, it was said, if we admit them into our liberties, we shall be overrun with them. There was a fear that if Scotland and England joined together, the English would be overrun with the Scots. And in that debate in 1606, they went on to say, witness the multiplicities of the Scots in Poland. Today, part of the debate is the number of people who are using the free movement of peoples across Europe to come to our shores. There are 2 million of UK citizens have moved elsewhere, including substantial numbers of my family. But in the 17th century, the 18th century, the 19th century, and the early 20th century, there were substantial migrations of Scots went to many of those countries, in particular to Poland, to the extent that there are areas in both Warsaw and Krakow called New Scots, New Scotland, and in a city that is now part of Poland, Danzig, there is also an area called New Scotland. So the Scots are, if we're anything, people of international interest. I may say I'm very happy to recruit Margaret Mitchell and Graham Simpson to the campaign to abolish the House of Lords. Margaret said an argument against the EU is that nobody knows who the MEPs are. Well, I'll bet you'll not get many people knowing the names of people in the House of Lords. I don't even know those which might claim Scottish connection. And I'm involved in politics. And Graham Simpson, I think, made remarks that would support that as well. Let me just conclude by saying when I made my first speech on the 14th of June 2001, I referred to fisheries policy bringing zonal management. We've seen some progress in the common fisheries policy, but I think it would be fair to say the overwhelming majority of my skippers who catch fish in the North Sea and elsewhere are likely to be voting no, because the common fisheries policy is one of the great failures of the EU. We have been making progress, and I think we'll continue to make progress. On the other hand, for those who produce fish products and who export fish, the free movement of goods across borders allows fresh products that will perish very rapidly to make it to the markets of the EU and to generate huge economic benefit. So I think the fishing industry is deeply divided between those who produce our products and rely on access to the wider market and those who are sharing the bounty of the seas in a very unfair way. Reform is needed. Reform is probably coming. I encourage the UK, who will have the European presidency in the second half of next year, to take a much more proactive role in promoting the interests of those who catch fish in our seas. Presiding Officer.